If Ohana means family, then filet de bœuf en croûte means beef Wellington, and future canoe means... Today we're gonna perform a background check on Beef Wellington's whole family, from the grandchild to the creepy uncle. I guess not my usual preference, but let's get the meat wrapping started. The grandchild of the family is the easiest to make. It resembles the big boys, but it lacks substance. I just realized the active cooking time is even less than a hot dog. The doctor I go to in Brooklyn has a private collection that looks something similar to this. The name is Pigs in a Blanket, but we're keeping it kosher here with 100% beef cocktail wiener. It's super slimy. As you can see on my face, the tears are falling down. We'll just cut the puff pastry a little narrower than the wiener and wrap it up. The slime on the surface is gonna help it to stick, and we'll just seal it with some egg wash. Now we'll take the puff pastry and wrap it very tightly around the meat. Spoiler alert, this step is not getting old anytime soon. Egg wash them on the surface one more time into a 375-degree oven for 15 minutes. People in the 1940s just looked at a British sausage roll and said, how can we put less effort into the food so we can get drunk faster? Before you bake a pre-made puff pastry, do you let it proof before baking? The layers look pretty good though. Let's give it a taste and rate 1 through 10. It looks like the grandchild of the beef Wellington, but it tastes like an immediate relative of the hot dog. It's a pretty good appetizer, 7 out of 10. So it tastes way better with ketchup. This ketchup is looking a little weird. Before we jump to the rest, let's take a look at the real deal. After all, this is the head of the household, the Jerry Smith of C137. We're gonna start by salting the entire surface of the fillet and let it dry brine in the fridge overnight. Or at least an hour. Then we're gonna hand chop some portobello mushrooms. I learned that in Italian, portobello means the beautiful portal. Couple cloves of garlic and a small bunch of thyme. You just gotta stroke the stem a lot to get it to release its flowers. Some black pepper and it's done. You really want some shallots in there, but I don't have any, so I'm just chop it up like that. In the largest saute pan, we're gonna get a decent amount of oil in. We wanna get the oil to be really hot because the drier the duxelle, the easier it is to wrap. To make up for the lack of shallots, I'm gonna add a lot of the truffle powder from Trader Joe's, along with some of that Your Sister sauce. Stir everything together till it looks like a dry, wet sand. They call this the duxelle, and the drier it is, the easier to wrap. We'll just put it in a bowl to cool for now. This is our last component before the wrapping. People always say you gotta sear the meat to seal in all the juices, but I don't think it works like that. I think the searing before cooking meat is mostly for flavor. Now we're just brushing on a layer of Dijon mustard, aka the only spice in English cuisine. I just realized besides salt and pepper, nothing else is gonna be added to the dish. But there's a secret ingredient to every great beef Wellington, and my secret ingredient today is love. Picture perfect, you don't need no filter. Every chef on YouTube that I saw used crepes to wrap it first to prevent juice runoff. What's up with the searing to lock in the juices, bro? And Babish used spring roll wrappers, which I had some in my freezer. It looks like it caught some type of infection. I feel like to achieve the same effect, you can use anything made with flour. Next time, we're gonna try with Wonder Bread. A layer of prosciutto. And at this point, the mushroom duxelle should be cooled. We'll spread a layer on top. Now the fillet should be in position towards the end at the bottom. I will lift up the plastic foil, stick into the work surface a little bit, and just gently roll it forward and press and squeeze the fillet to make sure everything sticks to it tightly. We'll do it one more time just to seal the end, roll it forward to get into a cylinder, and finally just pick up the ends and twist it to get it to close. There's a lot of space on the side. That never happens to other people. It looks like a giant candy in a wrapper with mold growing on it. I'm gonna just cut them off with my scissors. It pooped out a lot of duxelle. You can just put it in the trash bag. To completely secure it, we're gonna wrap it one more time horizontally and vertically. This thing got really heavy. We'll put it in the fridge for now till everything's settled into each other. This is like a newborn baby. Speaking of which, I'm gonna show you guys a real footage of my older sister holding me when I was born. So I guess it's a face reveal.
Look how friendly he looks. We're besties.
No, you can't fucking keep baby.
And here comes the final wrapping session. Not of the day, only of this dish. After defrosting the pastry sheet, we'll roll it out a little bit. I used to not do this, and it always gets too puffy. We'll put the meat in the middle and egg wash for the rest of the surface. And before we roll it up, I want to thank today's sponsor, BetterHelp. To emphasize the importance of mental health, I'd like to share a personal story. Around 2018 was the worst year of my life. I was a junior in high school and I lived an extremely rebellious and irresponsible life. After a series of poor academic decisions, I ruined my chances with college applications. So the following year during the application season, it was hard for me to see my friends turn toward their exciting new chapters in life. I felt like I got left behind. The feeling of inadequacy haunted me, and my hopeless outlook on life made any silence unbearable. That's when I realized it's wise to talk to a licensed therapist and unload some of the burden I've put on myself. Sometimes a new perspective is all you need. BetterHelp is an approachable way to start your first session of therapy. The app is easy to navigate and helps to connect you to the right therapist based on your personalized needs. In most cases, you'll get matched within 48 hours or less after filling out the questionnaire. You're able to choose the time and format that's the most convenient for you. Sometimes I don't feel like being on camera for an online chat, so the text or call option will be great alternatives. Even if you don't think it's the right fit, you have access to over 30,000 therapists that you can switch to with no additional cost. So if you think therapy might benefit your mental state, click this link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/futurecanoe. You'll get a special discount off your first month of therapy if you do. We want to egg wash every little corner to make our lives easier. Similar technique as before, we'll pick up the bottom and squeeze and pinch it together. Make sure there's no air in between and roll it all the way. And for the ends, this time, I'm not going to twist it because I'm afraid that it's going to get ugly. I'm going to just fold it in like a Christmas gift. A lot of egg wash in there so we don't have to worry about it popping open. Egg washing it one more time to give it the best color. We should have done it with all yolk, but I didn't want to waste any. Figuring out what to do with leftover egg wash is super annoying. And to make it look pretty, I'm gonna put on top these little braids that I made. I think the best looking is one of those fishnet looking thing, but I don't have the tool for it, so we're just gonna settle with the feminine option. Now we'll egg wash everything one more time, draw some lines on there with a paring knife, anything to make it look less like a sausage roll. Topping off with black pepper, and if you have flaky salt, just throw some of that on there too. We'll stick a thermometer into the middle and into a 375-degree oven for about 25 minutes. You want to take it out when the thermometer reads 108 because it's gonna carry over cooking to 125. I guess the scoring on the surface all disappeared, but it's looking pretty good. Call me Max Miller because we're about to give it a taste of this history. I'm not sure this is reliable, but apparently this dish originated from the household of the first Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wellesley, after his victory at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. His personal chef cooked this up in the kitchen in celebration. Because he loved it so much, people named this dish after him, the Duke of Wellington. The chef that created the dish went on to live a really fulfilling life with wife and kids and moved to Scotland where his great-great-grandson played soccer and went on to be a judge on MasterChef. True story. Speaking of family line, here are two members that we just made. They seem like they can make a really good team. I'm gonna name them Rick and Morty.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass it like Stockton.
I rested it for about 20 minutes. When I took out the thermometer, the juice started running off. But that's a problem lower on the priority list. The main question is, did I overcook it? Let's give it a look.
It's fucking raw!
It's beautifully pink. The only problem I see is how much juice is running off. I suspect that is because I was too lazy to make the crepes and I used spring roll wrapper. They're too thin to hold the juice in. Because last time when we cooked beef Wellington, there was almost no runoff. I mean, it was actually really raw, so that might be the case. Right before I took out the thermometer, the carryover cooking took it from 108 to 130. A lot higher than I expected, so it's more of a medium at this point. Overcooking it by a few degrees combined with the spring roll wrapper being too thin resulted in the soggy bottom pastry sheet. And this sauce I'm putting on top is just premium demi-glace with wine and beef stock. Actually, who am I kidding? It's just water. I don't have beef stock. So after this uncomfortably close shot of the cutting, let's give it a taste and rate 1 through 10. All the components in there, filet, prosciutto, mushroom, they all taste good. But when you put them together in the same dish, there's a sense of detachment. You know how for a salad to be great, it needs to come together as one dish rather than an assortment of vegetables? All the ingredients here are kind of like that. They're not melting together into the same dish. But it could be one of two reasons. First, I didn't cook it right. Second, I'm too much of a peasant to appreciate the food of a duke. Look how soggy the bottom get after a while. Overall, I think this attempt is still better than our last one, so I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10.
X gon' give it to ya. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon'
The immediate relative of the beef en croûte must be the pâté en croûte. And when I looked online, one of the only places in New York that has pâté en croûte right now is the Boucherie in West Village. Last time we came to the West Village, we got charged $1 for a napkin, so I'm not excited to go there. This place seems like where Finance Trust Fund 65 Blue Eyes take their first dates. As soon as I sat down, I've been told that they no longer sell pâté en croûte, and instead they offer me the pâté de Campan. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good enough. But the thing is, everything sounds better in French, you know. To my understanding, pâté en croûte means like a paste in crust. And it's not like a pleasant paste, it's a meat paste in crust. But when you say pâté en croûte, it sounds delicious. So it's pretty much all about how you name things. So to up the class of our community, I encourage you to call my food poulet radioactif. After some bread that they stole from the Cheesecake Factory, the pâté showed up. There's no en croûte. It's not even covered, bruh. I should have taken French instead of Spanish in high school. And all I remember from that class is 친구 없어요. Here, I put an en croûte around it. Do you guys like it? The meat jelly on top of it is real appetizing. So it's cold, blended up, boiled pork. I've never been enlisted in the military, but I think US soldiers ate better than this during World War II. So from now on, I'm gonna call Spam pâté de Navy SEAL. This next one is going to be a distant relative. This is a Hot Pocket with pizza fillings. The Pizza Pocket is born and raised in New Jersey, been to Italy twice, now claims to be Italian in all aspects of life, but still holds a blue passport. This dough I'm using right here is from a week ago when we made the chili feast gate. It's been fermenting in my fridge for more than a week. It smells a little sour, so we'll just call it a sourdough Hot Pocket. After flattening the dough a little bit, we'll take a piece of string cheese, press it in there, a few slices of pepperoni, and all we need to do here is just to close it up. It's just like a mini calzone. I think the actual Hot Pocket is more of an unleavened flatbread. In the highest temperature of the oven, 450 for 12 minutes. These Hot Pockets are making potatoes ashamed of representing themselves. They look more like potatoes than potatoes. The dough came out pretty well last week. This looks like one of those baked potatoes that's really well done, like tinfoil wrapped, roasted on an open fire. As always, let's cut it open and inspect the cross section. It looks a little undercooked towards the center, but at least it looks much more like a Hot Pocket now. It's a Hot Pocket full of undercooked pizza ingredients. 5 out of 10. It must be the uncle from Boston because we have some Atlantic salmon over here. This is probably the closest relative because it looks just like a beef Wellington. We're gonna wrap it in pastry sheet exactly like the way we did with the fillet. To make the filling, once again we gotta heat up a saute pan with oil. Half a chopped onion to get some color on there. We're baking it again later, so you don't have to worry about it that much. 8 ounces of spinach and 2 cloves of garlic. I ran out of garlic, so I'm just gonna do the spinach and onion. Once the wilting's almost done, we'll turn off the heat and put in some chopped parsley and dill, along with a block of cream cheese, and stir that in. The spinach is gonna release some water, so if it gets too thin, you can either add more cream cheese or add some breadcrumbs into it. Time to wrap again. We'll season the salmon fillet with both salt and pepper and start laying down a bed of the spinach cheese mixture. Put the salmon on top and cover it completely. Mine's getting a little loose, but I don't feel like fixing it right now. Egg wash everything and everywhere and pick up the ends, fold it over like a pierogi. Then use a ligma fork to press out the patterns like a Jamaican beef patty. And I feel like Jamaican beef patty is also a variation of the beef Wellington. I grew up in an area in Boston with a lot of Jamaican communities. I'll take you on a beef patty tour in the future. At this point, you really should be egg washing the whole thing, but as a theme on this channel, do what I say, not as I do. Into the oven at 350 for 35 minutes. You know, maybe we didn't need the egg wash after all. This is pretty good color. Not so nervous about this part because we're not trying to get medium rare or anything. But how is it that there's no runoff in this one when the filling is significantly more liquidy than the beef Wellington? And there's no crepes or anything to catch it. Even the bottom of the crust stayed crispy. We even directly laid everything on top of the pastry sheet. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. By the way, did you know that this is the second time we've had fish on this channel? The first time was 2 weeks ago and it didn't go so well. But anyways, this is such a nice dish with the salmon, spinach, and cheese. Without the puff pastry is like the pinnacle of healthy food. Might sound crazy, but I like this better than the beef Wellington. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Look over here, we're doing more spinach, stuffing them all into a tiny pot. It's gonna shrink a lot when it's heated, so the opposite of me. We'll quickly blanch it for less than 2 minutes and take it out into an ice bath. And let it cool on the side while we chop up the rest of the vegetables, which is 2 cloves of garlic, half an onion, a small bunch of parsley, and some dill. Mince them finely and put everything into a bowl, in which we'll add in 3 rooster eggs and 6 ounces of Greek feta. This step is fairly important. We have to make sure we get the every last drop of water out of the spinach. Now just mix everything together with the tool that's most comfortable to you. We've dealt with phyllo once before when we made the baklava, but it was mostly sugar and nuts, so this should be more difficult. We'll lay each individual pieces of phyllo into the baking dish and brush each layer in between with oil. There are quite a lot of layers and they keep tearing up like low quality paper towels. After a few sheets laid in, we'll pour in our filling, and on top of that, back it again with some phyllo sheets. Today, I think I learned something about myself. I don't like no phyllo sheets, yo. Or you can say, I don't phyllo working with phyllo. I topped it with some dried oregano, which is not a code word for weed. 1 final brush of oil, $3.75 for $40. Knock knock. Who is there? Fitness. You guys can finish the rest in the comments. You know, I really remember spanakopita to be a lot thicker than this, but I guess it just means spinach pie. So why did the bottom of this one get completely soggy? It's literally 80% of the similar ingredients as the salmon en croûte. The top is not really crispy either. I think we gotta approach it from a new angle by attacking the right angle, because if it's not the right angle, it's the wrong angle. Anyways, I'm gonna take a bite now. So just like my dad's attitude towards his romantic life, what's on the side is always better. Even with that, is a 6 out of 10. After Italian and Japanese, now I'm on the kill list of Greek grandmas. To end everything on a good note, our last recipe is a sweet relative, the Pop-Tart. It's the older sister of the Hot Pocket. More popular, but more toxicity as well. We're gonna start by making a simple pie dough, 1 cup and 1/4 of flour, some sugar and salt, and 1/4 cup of butter. In the instructions it said a simple pie dough can just be blended up together. When the butter is pretty much in small pieces, we'll add in 3 tablespoons and a half of ice water. Once we dump it onto a work surface, we should be able to easily knead it together. This ain't easy at all, but we're gonna keep going. With a scoop of strawberry jam in the middle, we're gonna take the other half and just close it together. Okay, you know what? Besides phyllo dough, I also don't like simple pie dough. Coming back to the reliable option of puff pastry, it's gonna be the best option because I didn't make it. We'll close it up and pinch the sides just like a regular Pop-Tart. Just because one looks better and one does not, we're not going to treat it any different. We're going to egg wash both of them with love, put it in the oven at 375 till they're golden. You see, this side, it looks really nice, like a fancy Pop-Tart. But when I rotate it, you can see that somebody leaked. I feel like the pastry dough just betrayed my trust. The cross section doesn't even exist anymore. When I opened it, there's like nothing left in there. But plain baked puff pastry is still pretty enjoyable. And the simple pie dough one looks like a simple pie. Okay, I'm gonna spit it out because towards the middle it's... Anyways, I made this video to sort of demonstrate how integrated dishes are. Different cuisines might share similar techniques and flavor profiles. If you're intimidated by a complex dish like the beef Wellington, just think of it as a pigs in a blanket with extra layers. The same principle applies to life. To dream big, you gotta start small. We may all be pigs in a blanket right now, but we're gonna turn into beef Wellington in no time. And today, there's something small that you could start with, maybe subscribe. Alright, thank you.